Tuesday, the 29th of December 2020. Today's t-shirt is not actually a truther one. Take a look. All about breaks and beats and hip-hop culture and music, just going back to the days when life was just so simple. This one comes courtesy of my dude Long Lasting, DJ and producer, and it brings back memories of when we didn't have to obsess over C-word madness every waking hour of our lives. So this is going to be the last video that I do in this God-forsaken, wretched year that we refer to as 2020, although that's only the calendar version of the year, of course, because the true natural year runs March to March. So this one is not over yet for another 3 months. What it involves, who can possibly say? So here in the UK, our gulag commandant overlords have come up with new tyranny to drop on us all just when you thought it wasn't possible for them to make our Christmas and New Year season any more miserable than it already was, with large parts of England having already been placed into Tier 4 restrictions, which basically involves all your freedom of movement and all your rights being taken away from you, at least on paper, because nobody can take those away from you in reality, in spiritual reality. Nevertheless, now we have word of things being stepped up even further to Tier 5. So they've pulled this one out of their arses in the last couple of days, and Tier 5 involves you being told to stay at home and everything being shut down, including the schools. So they're talking about keeping the kids off school through January because the mutant strain is apparently out of control. So that's being introduced in the next few days, reportedly. At the same time, we've got all the rhetoric about the vaccine, which is here, there and everywhere. Ryanair are currently running a TV ad with the catchy hook line, jab and go. The implication being that if you want to go on holiday in summer 2021, you're going to have to take a COVID vaccine as a condition of Ryanair carrying you. The ad starts off saying, COVID vaccines are coming, so book your summer 2021 holiday now. And this is probably what we're going to see from a whole load of companies upcoming, but it's no great surprise that it's Ryanair the first ones to unveil this, given that their loathsome, repulsive boss, Michael O'Leary, is reportedly on the board of the Bilderberg Group, which explains a lot when it comes to unrolling agendas, doesn't it? And jab and go is something that the vast majority of people in the UK and Ireland would probably like to do to Michael O'Leary, except they wouldn't be jabbing him with a vaccine. It would be some sort of sacrificial dagger, probably. So Ryanair really deserve to be boycotted by all and sundry as a result of this. And I think there is going to be a major backlash to their strategy. Wouldn't it be a beautiful thing to see that company going out of business as a result of people just refusing en masse to book with them if they're making the taking of a vaccine a condition? That would be a wonderful thing to occur. So we've got that madness going on. I watched the Queen's Christmas message like a hawk just the other day. With all the strange stuff that's been going on with the royals this year, I was interested to see whether this actually looked like the Queen, whether it could have been an actor, because we know that actors and doubles have been playing the part of certain royals over the course of the past few months, whether it could be CGI footage, or whether the message could have been recorded many months in advance. So having watched it, it seems to me that it was the Queen, but it doesn't necessarily follow that it's a message that was recorded any time in the last few weeks. She spoke in very timeless, generic terms about COVID and all the challenges that we're facing and how we're all pulling together and stuff. And I did find it ironic to have a Satanist and a paedophile lecturing us about God, Jesus and the Bible. You really couldn't make it up. Feigning morality and making out we're all in this together. Well, hopefully there's some truth to that as far as she's concerned, as in we're all in Gitmo together. That would be a wonderful thing. Whether it turns out to be a reality or not, we're going to have to wait and see. But my suspicion with the Queen's Christmas message is that it was recorded quite a while in advance to placate the unthinking general public and make everyone think that it's business as usual as far as the royals are concerned. They're buying time on this one until some revelations come to light, as I'm sure they will in the weeks and months ahead. What was also very interesting to me about that message was that on Channel 4, about 20 minutes later, they had their alternative Christmas message, which they do every year, just putting a different kind of spin on what the Queen had to say. This one, I wonder whether it was an example of revelation of the method, placing the truth in plain sight, because it was all about deep state faking of video footage. And they had the Queen CGI manipulated so that she was doing dance routines and saying all kinds of crazy stuff. And the show was demonstrating how easy it is to pass off a convincing CGI version of the Queen doing all kinds of stuff that many people would take as real. Were they giving us a hint as to what happened in the real Queen's Christmas message there, or if not that programme in particular, what's been going on the whole year in terms of royals, politicians, celebrities and all kinds of famous people that have been presented to us as if it's business as usual, as if they're still there doing their thing, whereas the truth of the matter could be anything other than that. These are interesting days and weeks. We're still waiting torturously for the outcome of the US general election. This one has just been dragged out interminably, and we've really been forced to have patience and hope and faith in this one, haven't we? We've had no other choice. Still waiting for a resolution on that, but the wait is almost over because this has to be sorted out in time for inauguration date on the 20th of January, and according to many alternative sources and many videos and the alternative grapevine, the 6th of January, or round about that date, is going to be a very key time for developments as far as the election and Trump versus Biden is concerned. I still remain convinced that Joe Biden is not going to be president. There's no way that can happen. Team Trump has all the evidence it needs now to prove beyond all doubt that that election was stolen, it was fraudulent. All kinds of proofs are going to be able to be presented, and I feel it's only a matter of time, probably only days now, before Trump is officially announced as able to take his second term in office. What the fallout from that is going to look like, I have no idea. Many pundits are speculating on it. Everyone's got an opinion. Many people seem to think that it could well lead to all-out civil war in the United States. I truly hope that doesn't happen, but clearly it is a possibility, given that Donald Trump divides opinion like Marmite. You seem to either love him or hate him, with very little room for middle ground. So many people are going to be shocked and rendered speechless by the announcement that the Democrats systematically cheated to make it look as if Joe Biden had won that election, and we're probably going to have a lot of drama in the days and weeks ahead, at least according to many of the commentators online who've been looking into this whole thing. So we have waited an age. The last 9 months of 2020 to me has felt like about 3 or 4 years. I mean, I can barely remember now life in the before times. I can barely remember what apparent normality was actually like before all the madness of this year. So looking forward to 2021, we cannot fail to have hope for things panning out in humanity's favour. We cannot fail to feel some faith that things are going to turn around. Faith and hope are very much the watchwords for next year. And the mantra that I've used many times this year of truth, freedom, justice, love, surely has to apply as well. Truth, freedom, justice, love, going forward into 2021 is that new mantra for humanity, I feel. And just taking that whole idea further, somebody has sent me an email, a friend of mine online, just tapping into this whole feeling of better days, better times ahead, and trying to cast our will and our intention out into creation to bring about and manifest that kind of beneficial situation that we want for all. What this person has written really resonated with me, so let me read it out. May the creator and source of all natural things Vaxes and transhumanism are not natural things, including divine common sense. That's sure been lacking this year, hasn't it? Old-fashioned common sense. When did that become so old hat? Wisdom, support, guidance, clarity, good balanced health, healing, miracles, could sure use one of those, along with a bit of divine intervention. Nurture, freedom, and solutions prevail. Best wishes for the new year ahead as the days increase in brightness. Yes, we're past the winter solstice, the days get slowly longer, more daylight, more sunlight, all the way through now to the summer solstice. I'm all for that. Light and length. May all the seeds we sow flourish with healthy and happy abundance. The truth should set us all free, so best if everyone turns off the BBC. The true real law is universal, divine, natural, common law principles. God's law, and this is what Christmas is supposed to be for. God the Creator is the law, and obviously God is the King of Kings, wrote this person. And I co-sign all of that. So really, truly, is there going to be anyone on the surface of the earth besides the demented psychopathic maniacs that make up the so-called elite class that is going to be sorry to see the back of 2020? I mean, we won't be having much of a party because all options to do that have been taken away from us. But just putting a lid on this unfeasible experience that we've all been through the past few months and looking forward to moving on symbolically to a new year is going to be a very important thing for many people. And we're all going to think back to 2020 in years ahead and carry our own memories of it. It's something we'll be able to talk to our grandkids about in decades to come when they say, "What was life like in 2020? We'll certainly have a story to tell then, won't we? And just reflecting on how the architects of the C-word narrative were able to pull off the most monumental scam ever played on humanity this year. I mean, I'm still dumbfounded that they were able to do it, to be honest with you. I'm still amazed that the vast majority of the world's population fell for it and couldn't see through the obvious lies, deceptions, anomalies, discrepancies, and satanic mockery, because so many steps along the way, we've been given the opportunity to know that they're laughing at us, they're mocking us. Just think of Matt Hancock the other week on TV, Piers Morgan, Good Morning Britain, and he's talking about the unveiling of the COVID vaccine, the first dose of which was given to this woman, Margaret Keenan. There was another guy whose initials, like hers, were MK, as in Ultra, as in Mind Control. And then he was talking about this guy, William Shakespeare. And Matt Hancock starts pissing himself laughing because the whole thing is just so absurd. And the programme presents it as Matt Hancock being overcome with emotion because at last we found a vaccine. It's such an emotional time for him. No, he's laughing at you because through the use of the name William Shakespeare, they're telling you it's all theatre. We've had so many opportunities along the way to know this, and yet people have been taken in by it. And people zealously defend the official narrative, and they will not have a word said against it. And applying a lot of thought and scrutiny to this, it just becomes clear to me that they have created a religion around COVID, a cult, the cult of COVID. Because all the hallmarks are there. People that get caught up in a religious belief system or a cult become brainwashed. They become mind controlled with the rhetoric that the group wants everyone thinking and believing. And people will defend it to the very end. They will not have a word said against their religion. It becomes a very personal thing to them. And that's what we're seeing with people who are propping up the official story that there's this deadly pandemic out there, that case numbers are rising. Of course they are, because we're getting false positives from an unreliable test. That's why case figures are through the roof. It isn't the case that many people are dying. It isn't the case that people are getting ill. Isn't it convenient that they tell us you can be asymptomatic, you can feel fine, you can exhibit no signs whatsoever that you're ill, and yet you still apparently are, and you need a faulty test to prove that this is the case. Even with all of this madness, though, people are still believing every word they see in the newspapers, from government ministers, on the TV news, and defending it as if their life depended on it. And look how zealous, look how just plain aggressive and nasty people get when you raise questions about it, when you query what we're being told about this whole thing. I'm sure we've had experiences like this. We've met people who will attack you in a very personal way. And they even say things like, yeah, you don't believe there's a virus? Well, I hope you catch it and die. You deserve to get it. I hope you experience what it's like. Just plain nastiness and vitriol that comes out of these people when you challenge their belief system. They don't want to look at evidence. They don't want to look at statistics and facts. They don't want to listen to alternative points of view from people who are qualified to put these things forward, like doctors, like medical professionals, like nurses who have worked in these empty COVID wards and have their own story to tell. They don't want to listen to them. Why? Because it's a religion. It's a mind control cult, and people have been caught up in it. And the other aspect of that is, in the backs of many people's minds, there's this instinctive, nagging recognition that if they were to acknowledge that we've been lied to by the very people, the very institutions that we're entrained to think that we can trust, such as government ministers, the mainstream media, the BBC, the Daily Mail, the Guardian, all these so-called tried and trusted names that have always been with us through our lives. If we acknowledge that they've been lying to us about this, they've been colluding, they've been conspiring, they're all in it together, they're knowingly presenting bad science and false information to further a political agenda. Well, it wouldn't just stop there, would it? These very same institutions, therefore, must have colluded on many other issues and must have told many other mistruths through the years. Because the only way that COVID could succeed as a monumental lie and scam is if it's part of a much wider scenario, which itself is made up of deceptions and lies of the worst kind. So to acknowledge one aspect of it means you have to acknowledge that all your life you've been lied to. Nothing is as it has been presented to you, which of course is the case, as most people watching my videos will fully comprehend. We've all been through this process. We've had our dark night of the soul. Mine was 10 years ago. I woke up to these uncomfortable realizations back then. I've spent the last decade processing it, dealing with it, living with it, coping with it. Many people don't want to go through that process. There's this nagging, instinctive feeling somewhere within them that all is not right, but they're blocking it out, they're choosing not to acknowledge it, they're pushing it out of their conscious thought because it's just too painful and too horrific for them to have to acknowledge that their whole life has been a lie. And then when the likes of us challenge the official narrative on what we're being told, it's a reminder of that to these people. And so they push it away because it's easier not to deal with it in their mind. Well, it's not easier in the long run, because for as long as people maintain that viewpoint, that stance, the lies, the deceptions, the mind control, the manipulations are only going to continue, and they're only going to get ramped up yet further. We're talking about psychopaths here. Remember, we're talking about Satanists, paedophiles. We're talking about abominations of humanity that are behind this one. How can it be anything else? How can an agenda like this, which has lied to so many billions of people around the world, which has been responsible for untold suffering, misery, and death, how can that be the product of anything other than subhuman abominations of creation? Absolute monsters. So people don't want to have to acknowledge that these are the individuals that have been running every aspect of our daily lives for who knows how long. But you know what? Those revelations are coming, and I feel they're coming sooner rather than later. And 2020 has been a preparatory wake-up call, an opportunity for many people to get a grounding ready for what is going to come. You hear the phrase, nothing can stop what is coming, so many times within these realms. And as we enter 2021, I feel major revelations are going to come, whether people like them or not. And many are going to be forced to face up to the uncomfortable truth of the matter. They're going to be forced. If they choose not to do it of their own will, they are going to be forced. And yes, it is right, it is correct, it is moral for people to be forced. Because if they're remaining in an ignorant state is causing the suffering and the taking away of rights and freedoms of vast numbers of other people as a direct result of their choosing to stay in ignorance, well then they have no right in creation to take that stance, because taking that stance is causing harm. And the number one golden rule of spirituality, of universal law, is that you should do no harm. So people are going to be forced to face up to these truths so that they can no longer continue to do harm by remaining in that ignorant state. So exciting, or at the very least eventful times ahead in the days to come. How can it not be? And I'm ready for something to happen. I mean, the last few months have been almost unbearable, utterly tedious, and just not living. It's just not been life. So however things are going to get stepped up, I'm ready for a change in the narrative now. I'm sure many other people are as well. And I'm sure these harsh, tight lockdown conditions now being experienced by those of us in the UK and many other nations. I speak to people across Europe. It seems to be the same in most European nations right now. These conditions are going to be very closely linked to what's happening elsewhere in the world, and specifically America. And there's going to be, a make or break type situation coming very soon, I feel. I want to mention a project that's been put together by an associate of mine who has just started a Kickstarter campaign. It went live on Boxing Day a few days ago, and the project is called HANGGOV. It's a 3D tabletop game manifesting justice for humanity. Sounds good to me. So my friend here is saying HANGGOV's gameplay is based on the classic Hangman word guessing game, all in three-dimensional treasonous glory. Treasonous due to the game, which is available in UK and US versions and includes 5 government officials to hang. Imagine that. In previous generations, they would have hung months ago. Also available on the campaign are HANGGOV art posters and t-shirts, which is another great way you can help and back it. With that said, please go and check out the HANGGOV Kickstarter campaign and back it by grabbing one of the rewards available on there for doing so. You're only charged if and when the Kickstarter is completely funded. So I'll put all the details to HANGGOV in the show notes below, and if you feel like heading across there and supporting the cause, my friend there would be very grateful for it. Another friend, Simon, has got in touch with a great alternative idea to the resource leaflets that I've been making available the past few weeks and posting out to people. This points people in the direction of where they can get information that counters the official mainstream narrative on what's going on in the world. And the variation on that idea is some really great stickers. They're kind of like internet memes, and they get across a very impactful, potent message in the form of icons and imagery. And these stickers are great for just slapping anywhere you go. Slap them in town centres, slap them on walls, slap them in stores. They're conversation starters. They're things to really get people thinking. And, memes do that. That's why they're so effective. Often the fewer words that are used and the more symbols, because symbolism is the language of the subconscious mind, the more effective it can be. So I'll put a link to this sticker range in the show notes below as well. And if people want to arm themselves with some of these, they can send off to my friend Simon and get some of these sent out to them. I want to mention a couple of shows that I've recently posted online. Just today, I put up my Sound of Freedom Inspirational Upliftment Edition. So this is a variation on the Sound of Freedom Conscious Music podcast that I do regularly. I'm up to 102 shows now. And this particular episode is all about uplifting, inspirational music that really gives us a lift in dark and challenging times. Many of the songs that I've put together in this mix have helped me personally get through the last few difficult months, and I really hope that people get as much out of this show as I did putting it together and appreciate the songs every bit as much as I do. So it finishes with some soulful, uplifting house. That is the basis of my Sound of Now weekly show. Just a few days ago on Boxing Day, I put out the Best of 2020 Part 1, which are the soulful, uplifting house tunes that have spoken to me the most this year. Real message music, real resonant lyrics, and great vibrations, great energetic frequencies to these records. So the Sound of Now archive is available on my Spreaker page, as is the Sound of Freedom archive, and in particular this inspirational upliftment edition, which finishes with about 40 minutes of incredible house music. The links to both those archives will be in the notes below as well. Part 2 of the Best of 2020 of the Sound of Now is coming up this weekend. That's going to be going out on the 2nd of January. And ahead of that, New Year's Eve, which will be rather different this year to any other. You're not going to be going out to party, you're not going to a rave, so you might want to listen to the show that I've got going out on the radio. It's called Studio 105, and it's being broadcast on First 105.1 FM in Oxford. Not to worry if you're not near Oxford, England, because it streams online at firstfm.uk, and this show is going out for 4 hours between 8 p.m. and the stroke of midnight. It's called Studio 105 because it draws on the glorious days of soulful disco music from the late 70s going into the early 80s, as played at iconic venues like Studio 54, the Paradise Garage, and all these others. It's soulful disco revivals, it's full-length versions. Nothing cheesy, not I Will Survive and YMCA and all the obvious pop hits. It's, proper soulful, funky sounds for people that appreciate that. And much of this music laid the foundations for the house music generation which followed. So I had great fun putting this together. It's a 4-hour mix and it's going out New Year's Eve. If you've got nothing else on, you might want to indulge in that and enjoy some great music. That's pretty much all I've got for you at this time. I'm lining up another show with Charlie Freak, incidentally, which will be my last Good Vibrations of 2020. It's going to be the 4th show I've done with Charlie this year. And again, it's going to be asking those all-important questions. What's going on and where are we at? We're going to be doing our best to answer those searching questions. So that'll be out in a day or two. So what a year it's been, 2020. None of us will forget it. We can't fail to be full of hope for better things in 2021. And I just want to send out some thoughts and some commiserations to everyone that's been lost this year. Everyone who's lost relatives as a result of the scamdemic. Everyone that's lost loved ones or close friends as a result of them not being able to get surgery or treatment for other conditions because of the madness of COVID. And in particular, everyone that's been lost due to taking their own lives these last few months, just through not being able to cope with the desolation, the loneliness, the upheaval that we've all experienced in our lives. I resonate so much with people that have felt to take their own lives because I've been close to that myself on so many occasions. So I just want to spare a thought for all those that we have lost unnecessarily this year. And, these deaths are on the hands of the architects of this narrative who have committed fraud, treason, genocide and crimes against humanity. There's no other way of cutting it. And the karmic payback for them, for what they have done, is going to be horrific. So I'll just leave it on that reflective note. Thoughts and, sympathies and commiserations going out to all that we've lost this year. And may 2021 be full of hope, faith, truth, freedom, justice and love. Catch you on the other side. And thanks to everyone for all the support for my videos this past year, which have really taken off, gone through the roof. So many people have discovered my work as a result of the commentaries that I've been making on our shared situation this year. Many people have been surprised to discover that I've been around for 10 years, that I've put out my books, that I've exposed the music industry over the course of many years. So just want to thank everyone for their support and for all the love and good wishes that so many people have sent out to me, and the kind comments they've made about the value that they find in these video updates. They will continue. Catch you on the other side.